So I've just finished watching the Netflix live action version of Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I will admit I went into this wanting to hate it. You know, after hearing that the original creators left the production because of creative differences, and I was a little bit worried after I saw some of the trailers, and then when I saw some of the reviews criticizing certain parts of the show, I knew I wasn't going to like this. And let me first say, I'm a huge fan of the animated series. I watch it like almost every year. I rewatch it every year. I own all of the books that were released after the series, which I highly recommend, by the way. So yeah, I'm a big fan. And I did have to force myself to sit down and watch this. I was hesitating whether or not I wanted to or not, but I thought, you know what, I'll give it a go, see what it's like. And after watching the first episode, I actually enjoyed it. And then finishing the rest of them, I did find that I liked it more than I disliked it. And yeah, there were definitely some issues which we'll get to, but there were also some really great moments which I absolutely loved about this show. And yeah, so let's talk about the things that I really liked. First off, the very first episode, especially the first half hour of the episode, is so good. I was fully engaged with it, it was entertaining, and I was surprised, to be honest. And throughout the show, most of the fights with the airbending and hand-to-hand combat, most of them look really good. They're entertaining, they're well choreographed, they're just really fun to watch. So I think they did a really good job, which is such an integral part of this show. And the world looks amazing. The villages, the Southern Air Temple, the Fire Nation, Omashu, and it really helps you get engaged and immersed into the actual world. Oh yeah, and there's this one scene with Avatar Kyoshi, which is so epic. I got chills when it happened. And there was a few moments where I felt like that. But the one thing that I really loved about this, and I feel carried the entire show, was everything to do with the Fire Nation. From Iroh to Prince Zuko to Fire Lord Ozai and Zal, they were all so captivating and interesting. And all of the actors did such a good job with these characters. And I feel like any flaws throughout the show, which there were a lot, I feel they were overshadowed by how good the Fire Nation segments of the show were. And that's a good segue to talk about the flaws, because there are a few. So they went for a more serious and I guess more subdued tone to the show compared to the animated series, which is fine, but I feel like it was a detriment to Team Avatar with Aang, Sokka and Katara. Because I personally found those three kind of bland, especially when they were on screen for a lengthy amount of time. And I did find myself getting distracted, you know, going on my phone or just completely zoning out, not actually listening to what was happening on screen. Especially with the amount of exposition that was included in the dialogue. And Aang, I just did not find him as an enjoyable character as he was in the animated version. And you know, it's so hard to compare animated to live action because you can do so many more different things in animation that you can't do in live action. But I feel like he was just a little too subdued. And I don't know if the actor is a trained actor or not, or whether it was bad script writing or directing or a combination of everything. But some of the lines just didn't feel right. They felt a little bit janky and forced, and he would often use this inflection in his voice. I think it was to convey, you know, emotion. I just didn't feel like it was very natural. Katara was more subdued than she should have been, or maybe not subdued, but they took a lot of her essence out. Same with Aang, from the characters from the animated series, which they could have easily translated into the live action, but for whatever reason they chose not to. And that was also with Katara. I know people had a lot of issues with her learning waterbending and becoming so good at it by the end of this part of the series, which I didn't have much of a problem with. But what I did have a problem with was Aang didn't even attempt to waterbend. He didn't even attempt to learn it, which didn't make much sense to me, because if they do carry on with the second season or a third season, they're going to have to cram that in there. So I don't know how they're going to work that in, and I don't know why it didn't show elements of him learning waterbending. A big gripe I've got, and it was in one of the episodes, was how they butchered a beloved character and that was Boomy. And I don't know why they went in that direction, because it didn't add anything. I understand that they want to make their own changes into the show and include their own elements, which might include character changes. But the way they changed Boomy didn't add anything. It just made him an unlikable character, and I just don't get why they did that. So yeah, that was my biggest disappointment in the show, with what they did with Boomy. And like I said before, with Fire Nation, I feel like there was almost two different teams working on the show. One team working on the Fire Nation stuff, so the script writing, you know, the dialogue, the directing, and one for the Avatar side of things with Team Avatar and the rest of it. It just felt like the quality was so much better when the focus was on the Fire Nation compared to Team Avatar. Like the dialogue with the Fire Nation, you know, with Iroh and Zuko and Lord Ozai, the dialogue was snappy and interesting and engaging. And then you'd get into Team Avatar and it felt like the energy just got sucked out of it a little bit. In saying that, there were some great moments that included Team Avatar. Like, not all of it was bad. Some people have pointed out and questioned how they're going to explain the aging of the characters if they do go ahead with the second and third season. Because if you look at the actor for Aang, I think his name's Gordon, in interviews at the moment, his voice is so much deeper. And so I don't know how they're going to explain certain things, because I mean, filming hasn't started and they're going to keep growing, and there are a lot of very young actors in this first season. So I don't know how they'll explain that. Other than maybe they'll have a time skip, you know, and then maybe Aang will have started waterbending and we'll see, you know, them a bit older. They'll have to change some of the story compared to the animated version, but I have a feeling they might do that. If I was to rate it, it would probably be a 7 out of 10, and a lot of that score is lifted by the Fire Nation stuff. I just love that stuff, and that's what makes me want a second season, because I want to see what they do with it. I think overall it's pretty decent. There are some people out there that really hate it, and I thought I was going to be one of those people. I was ready for it. I was ready to really not like the show, but overall I enjoyed it and I would recommend it. So yeah. But yeah, let me know what you think about it. Do you hate this show? Did you love it? Or did you think it was okay, like I did? Love certain parts, hated certain parts? Let me know. Anyway, that's my video for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.